Okay, so welcome back to a new one, and on this one we need to talk about ratio, pitch, octaver, and transposer. So if I go to pitch, you're gonna find them right there. Pitch, octaver, ratio, and transpose. So first, before we start talking about this, you need to understand how the ratio and how frequencies work behind the scenes. Now, every time that you play a key, you are going to be playing a fundamental frequency. Right now, I'm just using a sine wave right here, and if I play something, we get that. If I play an octave higher, we get that. We know how this works. Now, in this case, just to prove how this works, I'm going to go to the pitch in, and I'm going to bring a value readout right here. So this one will just listen or just tell me what am I doing with my MIDI keyboard. Now we get ones, we get dBs, or we can evaluate with semitones or hertz. Now if I go to semitones and I do a C2, it's just telling me, dude, you're just playing a C2. If I do a C3, it's just telling me a C3. But notice that the values are just a little bit different. Now if I play a C4, it's just telling me, okay, you're just playing a C4. Now behind the scenes, whenever we do this, we are also working with hertz. Now, whenever you work with the hertz, every fundamental frequency right here, it's going to be, that key. So in theory, if I do C2, what I'm playing is, I'm playing the fundamental frequency of 131 hertz. If I go to C3, that's going to be the fundamental frequency, 262. Now, you also get this on pretty much all over the place, and this is how it works behind the scenes. If I go right here to the EQ, notice if I click right here and just make a bump right there, and I boost this frequency right there at the top, on the top right corner, it's going to tell me, dude, you're boosting this frequency, and this frequency belongs to this key. In this case, if I go to there, it's just telling me this is going to be a C6. Now, of course, I'm boosting this fundamental frequency, but also boosting the sides. Now, that doesn't mean that this is not, this peak is not C6. So every frequency right here belongs to a key. Now, maybe you're wondering, okay, so why not just, when we are just doing a track or just playing a track or just building something, you're saying, okay, why not making a track on 262 hertz? All right, that's going to be that's going to be the root. Well, it's much easier to say C3 than saying 262 hertz, right? Just much easier. Now, this is not what I wanted to show you, but I need you to understand that behind the scenes, everything, it's just going to be hertz. It's just going to be a fundamental frequency right there. So, okay, let me just disable the EQ for now. I'm just going to delete it. Now, the main purpose of this video, it's not to build something, so we are not going to do anything at the end. It's just to learn how this controls work, and just to understand them and control them. So the main thing we are going to be talking about is going to be how the ratio works. Because we understand if we play a C3, we're just going to be doing a C2 or C3, and now the frequency is going to change depending on what we play. That's very understandable. But the ratio is going to be just like a little bit different. We have a one-to-one relationship. This one, the one right here, the first one is going to be the numerator, and the second one is going to be the denominator. Now, don't panic. We are not going to do a lot of math. We're just going to do simple math, just to learn how to understand how this works and how this works and how to predict, the behavior of this, how this behaves. Okay, so I'm going to maybe go right here. I'm going to do the whole thing. I'm going to connect right there. And maybe I'm going to bring it right here at the bottom. I'm using this oscillator with an envelope, very simple thing. I'm going to connect it right here. So what I want to do, I want to disconnect the keyboard of this oscillator, and I'm going to go all the way. So now the main control, what is going to be in control of what comes out or what comes into the, what comes out, which sound comes out, this one is going to be in control. Now I'm going to be disconnecting this one from here, and I want to see what happens when we work with ratios. So I'm going to go and just maybe connect it right there. Okay. So now if I do a C2, we are going to be getting still C2. And if I do a C3, I'm getting a C3. So again, this one is the numerator and this one is the denominator. And if I have to use simple words, this one is going to multiply and this one is going to divide. The first one multiplies and the second one divides. Since we are doing nothing right now, is a one-to-one relationship. We are doing 262. Well, let me just go to C3. This is C3, and we know this is 262. And we are doing multiply 262 by 1 and then divided by 1. So if you do that, of course, you're going to get nothing. You're just going to get 262. That's why you get whatever you play. Now, of course, at the end of the day, every key has a fundamental frequency. If you want to know, or you need a chart just to know which frequency without using right here an EQ, you do have a website. For example, this one. Let me just show you this one. This is the location. Maybe I'm gonna the URL. Maybe I can give you the link. And we are in 440. And right here is just going to tell you this key belongs to this frequency, or maybe this frequency belongs to this key, and depends on how you want to see it. But right here you have the whole chart, right? Pretty good, pretty easy to understand. So now you have it right here. If you want to use it, you have it available. Now, okay, so let's go back to ratios. We are multiplying and dividing, right? Okay. So since we are doing that, what happens when we start to change the values? Right? So now, of course, we are going to be multiplying by something else and dividing by something else. So again, I'm going to play a C3. That's the C3. We know this is 262. What happens if I do times 2? It's going to be 262 times 2. It's going to be 523. And we are dividing by 1, so we are not doing anything. It's just still going to be 223. And that's going to be 1 octave up, right? We are doing C3, that's going to be, and if I go to 2, 2, it's going to be 1 octave higher. Now, of course, we can use a calculator just to confirm this. If I go right here, remember, we are doing C3. C3 is 262 times 2, because that's the numerator, and then we are dividing by 1, and if I do equal, is 524. Now, there's a tiny difference right here, and it's just minimal. This doesn't matter. It's still going to be C4. Okay, so if we keep this rule, let me just move the calculator now. I'm going to bring it in a second. What happens if we keep going up, right? If we just keep changing this. So I'm going to go, instead of 2, I'm going to go to 3. Now, when I do 3, we could assume, okay, so if I go up on the numerator, we are just going to go octaves up. No, that's not how it works. Remember, this is going to do some math behind the scenes, and it's not going to be exact in this case. If I go to 3, now the frequency, it's telling me if I do a C3 right now, I'm going to play a C3, it's going to be G4, and the frequency is going to be 785. So this is not going to be exact. This doesn't mean that if you go up, you're going to be 1 octave higher. It's just doing this math for you. It's 262 multiplied by 3 and divided by 1, and it's going to give us this number. And this number belongs to this key, G4. So now if I play a C3, at the end, it's just going to go and play a G4. And again, we can bring the calculator and just confirm this. If we go, again, 262, oops, made a mistake right there. 262 times 3, and then, of course, you're going to do equal and multiply it by 1. We are going to get 786, which is, a G4. Now, if we keep going up, at some point, we're just going to get different values because the math is different. If I go to 4, it's going to be, of course, 262 times 4. We're going to get a C5. And if we keep going up, not one. If we keep going up on the C3, which is the middle C, is going to go to 5, and now we get an E5. That's not a C3. That's going to be a third, C, E, and G. And again, we can confirm this with the calculator, but I believe at this point, it's just, we don't need to. So remember, this one is the numerator, and it's going to be multiplying, but whatever you're playing. In this case, we do is C3. Now, what happens if I do C2? Well, the same thing is going to happen. This is going to grab that 131 hertz, and it's just going to start multiplying, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And of course, you're going to start getting different values. Right. So let's just go back to 1-to-1. So at the end of the day, remember, this one is multiplying, but the other one is just going to be dividing. Now, how can we use the divide for, different reasons? All right, so I'm going to go to play a C3. We know it's 262, and I'm going to start multiplying by 2, by 3, and then by 4. So we are getting a C5. Now, remember that this one is going to divide. Now, so if I start dividing, it's going to be 1.5K, 1.05K. And if I do divide it by 1, we get nothing. But if I divide it by 2, we get half. And half is going to be 523, which is going to be a C4, right? That's the frequency of C4. So again, we control and we can divide whatever value we get at the end when we multiply it with this one. Now, of course, right now we're just not doing something super useful, but if you go maybe right here and you go a one-to-one relationship, if I play C3, we have 262, but this one is just going to divide. So if I go up, we are dividing 262 by 1 in this case, and we are by 2, and we are going to get a lower octave, which is 131. So now again, with this one, depending on what you have right here, you can go to lower values or lower keys or lower hertz. And again, just to confirm this, we can bring the calculator and do the math. Remember, it's 262. So 262, then it's going to be multiplied by 1, we get the same value. But if we divide it by 2, we get 131 hertz, which is going to be a C2. So this is how the ratio is going to work. It's going to multiply, and then it's going to divide whatever value you are just multiplying. Depends on the combination you do right here, you're just going to get different values. If I go to a 4 to 4, of course, we are always going to get the same fundamental tone that we are just playing. It's going to be, let's say, 3. But if you start changing this, again, you're going to start getting different values. Again, we get that E3, or maybe if you go to a 5 to 3, we get an A. Right? We are doing 262. And again, we could just bring the calculator and just confirm. 262 multiplied by 5, we are going to get that. And then we divide it by 3, and we are just going to get 436.66666. Well, that's going to be an A. So yeah, of course, you don't need to do the math. Once you start working with this, you're going to start, remembering what combination of numerator and denominator will give you what. Right, so let's talk about the other ones. Now that you know this one, we can talk about these ones. And these ones are just very simple to understand. This one works with ratios, but maybe we want to work with octaves. So this one is just going to give me an octave. If I do 0, right here, 0, and I play a C3, I'm going to be getting a C3. But this one, what it will do, it will go 1 octave up. 523, and then 2 octaves, and then 3, and we can go up to minus 3 octaves on plus 3 octaves, right? So it's very simple. Then we have the transpose. And now the transpose, instead of working with octaves, is going to work with semitones, right? If I'm doing a C3, that's what I'm playing, and if I go 1 semitone up, or maybe a couple of semitones up, you're just going to start playing different keys. Now, I'm still playing C3, but it's just kind of a transposing. And that's why it's called transpose. So all of these modules that we have right here, they work like kind of like a pitch shifter. We have something going on right here, and then we just kind of shift it to something else. Now, funny thing, notice that the Octaver, the ratio, and the transpose, they have a symbol right here. They have a plus. So we could use these modules on a different way. We can use use them as a math module. Now, let me just give you an example. I'm going to go to the math, and I'm going to bring a constant, right? Maybe you're going to put it right there. Why not? So, okay, so the constant, we know that this one will output whatever value that we're kind of set right here. If I say 1, this one is going to be 1. Now, in order to use these ones, sometimes we need to connect something. This one is going to kind of transpose whatever instruction we are providing right here, and it will just output something, right? But if we disconnect this one, disconnect this one, and we connect a different thing that it's not pitch, this can act this element, this module, like the ratio and Octaver, they can work as a math module. Let me just prove this. I'm going to maybe go to, the Octaver. And I'm going to connect this one right here. And then I'm going to maybe keep it right there. Okay, maybe you're going to go right there. So we know that the constant is going to be 1, right? And we know it's 1. And for now, I'm just going to go to 0. So the constant is going to be 1. So if I go 1 Octaver, on the Octaver, I go 1 up, this is still going to be affecting whatever value that goes right here. So now this one works like a math module. We are doing 1, and then we are just adding 100, which is 1 octave, but it's going to be 1.100. If I go up, again, it's going to do the same thing. So the other ones will do the same thing. If I go up, this one just will shift that +1 to plus something. And, we can go into negatives. And the ratio again works the same way. If I go right here, of course we get a 1 right there. But if I start moving the ratios, this will start changing whatever value we have right here, right? So we can use them as math modules just to modify whatever value that, comes in and then comes out. So we don't need to strictly use pitch just to work with them. That's, the main point of this. All right, so these modules, they have an in, right? So we can put something in and they will act on top of whatever you're feeding right here. Now, then you have the pitch, and the pitch is going to be a little bit different. This one has no idea, has no connection to something else. So we cannot connect our keyboard. This one is going to going solo, and the fundamental frequency is just going to be this one. It's going to be C3. So if I play a C3, I'm going to get that. But if I do a C2, I'm still going to get a C3, right? My keyboard's not controlling anything, and I'm just playing a lot of keys right now. And this one, this is what the pitch is going to do. We can control whatever value we have right here with the pitch. If I go up, that's going to be what, and I'm doing it with the mouse, of course. This is the one that will control whatever is that we are doing right here. Now, the pitch control has a few options. You have the display unit, and then you have the hertz right here. So instead of seeing the C3, you can, display the hertz, and 262, that's the fundamental. And by default, it starts on C3. That's like the middle C, right? I know it's always like that. So when you bring it by default, it's going to be C3. So we know now that it's 262. But as you go up, of course, this is just going to be moving that value, right? So it kind of works the same way, but this one's have an in and this one has nothing. That's the main difference. Now, all of these modules, they have something special that we need to talk about, and it's a really cool feature. All right, so let me just show you how they work. I'm going to bring all of them right here. Maybe going to bring all of them here. And I'm just going to show you that when I click this one, we have some options right here. And it says stereo and then NES. And we get that on the octave, we get it on the ratio, and we get it on the transpose. So, okay, so, what can we do with this ones? For now, I'm just going to disconnect this one, and I'm going to bring the Octaver. This is one, it's going to be the easy one, the easiest one. And then I'm going to bring the pitch in, so I can, you can listen to my keyboard, and I'm going to be connecting this right here. Now, notice that when we do something, and right now I'm going to do 0 octaves, I'm going to do something, maybe going to play a C3, we know it's 262, and I'm getting two things right here, and I'm getting the same value twice. If you think about why am I getting the same value twice? Why the readout is giving me the same value twice? Well, it's because on Bitwig, everything is stereo by default. By default, it's stereo. Now, in this case, this Octaver, it's just mono. And that's why we get it 262 and then 262. This is the left and this is the right channel, and everything is a stereo. Now, these modules, they give you this kind of a thing, which is a super cool thing. So if I do left right here and I'm start playing a C3 and I do other keys, we get the same thing, right? We just get the same thing. And I do a C3 and I do a C4 and we always get the same thing. So it doesn't matter. I'm going to go one octave up. Notice the difference? Notice that something else is going on? Okay, so I'm going to play C3. And we are telling the Octaver to go one octave up. So we are telling, dude, I want you to act or react to whatever pitch comes in, and I want you to make it one octave higher, right? That's how it works. And we are telling it, do it on the left channel. So it's going one octave up on the left channel. So we have C4, oh, my mistake right there, C4 on the left, but on the right channel, we have C3. So if I do a C3, on the right channel, we have a C3, and on the left, we have a C4. That's how it works. If I go to the right channel, we can have the opposite. The right side is going to be C4, and the left one is going to be what I'm playing on my keyboard. Right? That's how it works. It's just super cool. Now, if we do mono, is what we have from before, which is going to be whatever we play is going to be on the left, the same thing on the left and the right. Same thing will happen with the ratio, for example. If I bring the ratio right here, let me just go to pitch. I'm going to leave this one. I'm going to bring the ratio right there. And same thing is going to happen. If I do now mono, we get the same. But if I maybe break it to the left, we get the same, but if I start moving this, we are going to start getting different things. Right, so maybe if I go just right there, I'm not going to play, I'm going to play a C2. Now remember the fundamental is C3. So we are just getting that, and I'm going to connect this one. All right, so now I'm going to play C2. Now if I play C2, on the left channel, it's playing an F. Now we can do just combinations, just doing that on the left and the right channel. That's the main purpose of this stereoness. Now we got the same thing on the transpose right there. But of course, this one works by semitones, so you can get to kind of a weird sport, or maybe just you can select something like maybe, let's say I'm going 7 semitones up, something like that. Let me just enter right here the value. I'm just going to do 7. And remember, C, E, G, the G is going to be the 5th. So I'm doing a root and 5th. Right? Let me just connect the keyboard. Right. So, really cool. Now we need to talk about the pitch. Now you might think, okay, so we get the same thing with the pitch, and yeah, kind of. We get something similar, and it's gonna be a little bit weird to explain. So I'm gonna bring it right here, and I'm gonna maybe disconnect whatever we have right here, because I want kind of a total silence. And for now, I'm just gonna kill that one. So the pitch gives you, let me just go to a default. The pitch is going to give you a display unit. We know that one, but it gives you something that's different. It's going to say stereo ice. And the other one is telling you stereo ness. So it's just a little bit different. Now, by default, what this is going to do, since this one is not listening to anything, is going to kind of invert whatever value you're doing right here. And it sounds super weird. Let me just go right here and just put it right there. I'm going to connect it, and then I'm going to enable the gate. Okay. So now we are doing a C, right? I'm playing whatever key, and we always going to get a C3. And if I start moving this, you're going to get different pitches, right? We know this. Now, what happens if I enable the stereo ice, or whatever you want to call it? And I start moving these values. Notice that, well, of course, we get something on the left and the right. And if you're using a phone, right, you're watching this video on a phone that it's mono, it's just going to sound super weird. You need to use headphones, all right? Or maybe good speakers. Now, notice it sounds super weird. When I get to 12 semitones, we know that we are 1 octave up, and now it just sounds a little bit better. So behind the scenes, what this is doing, and if I connect this right here, is doing a C4 and a C2. That's what we get behind the scenes. That's why it sounds kind of good right now. So behind the scenes, what this is doing, and let me just show you right here, it's going to be a little bit weird to explain. I'm going to disconnect this one. This one, instead of going by hertz in this case, it's just kind of not hertz, it's just kind of inverting the value. So if I go to 1, I know that this one is going to output a value. Right now we are at 0. Let me just put it right there. Now if I go to 1, we are just going to be getting that, and we are using the stereo. So let me just remove that one. So if I go to 1, and maybe go to semitones right there, I go to 1, that's going to be 1. And we know it's C sharp, right? We are moving from C3 and we go to C sharp. Cool. Now, if I go 1 more, it's going to be 2 and then 3. And of course, we're going to get different pitch. Now we know this. Now with the other one, if I go and stereoize this, if I move up, notice that the values are going to change right here. Now we are not doing plus and then plus. We are doing plus and we are doing minus. So if on the left side, you're doing +1, on the right channel is going to do a -1. That's why, you don't get something so perfect. Because -1, maybe it's going to be, in this case, a C#3, but then it's going to be a B2, and it doesn't sound that cool, Let me just enable the gate. It's very upsetted, right? But that's what it's doing behind the scenes. If I go to 2, it's going to be +2, but on the other side, it's just going to be -2. and so on and so on and so on. That's why, we get that sound. In this case, if we go to 6, we get an F sharp, and it's kind of it sounds good because we are in the same key. But as we go to other values, we're going to get that, that sound. But again, behind the scenes, it's doing that. It's just inverting whatever you have on the left, and it's just inverting it on the right. So we are done. Now, at the beginning of this whole series of videos, I've told you that on this guides, you're not going to learn anything if you are a grid monster. If you're just, you already know how to create great patches and do kind of a very complex things on the grid, you're not going to learn anything from this. This is just if you're starting, this is a family show. I'm targeting everyone that wants to learn. And that's why we are not building something super great, and we don't build super long patches with a lot of connections. And it's because these videos are not about that. And you can find a lot of that on the web today about the grid. You can find a lot of videos of people creating just amazing patches. And you can go maybe right here and just find, and you can see, find the different patches that are just great. So the main point of this videos is to understand what each module is going to do and how to control it. And then if you want, you can do, since you understand them now, you can use that knowledge to create things. That's the main point. So this one, we are not going to build anything because this one, it's like, this 4 different modules are very essential, are very core, right? So now we know how they work. So now we can use it in a more complex scenario. But that's it. It's, that's going to be this video. Now, on the next one, we are going to build something. I don't know if it's something cool, but we are going to build something because we need to talk about the pitch quantize and the semitone, and then maybe we're going to talk about this too. But we're going to talk about this one mainly because it's a super cool thing. And this one and this one are just far more specific than this ones. These ones are very core and essential, right? Okay, so hopefully you like this. Now you understand how this works. Now you understand maybe this controls, or maybe you understand now how ratio works and how the math works behind the scenes. And you learned something. And if you did, remember to like and of course subscribe, and remember to leave a comment. I really love comments. And if you have the money, you can go to Patreon and maybe you can buy me a coffee. Why not? And you're going to get some, something in return, like samples and patches for different devices. All right, so see you on the next one. And remember, the next one is going to be cool. We're going to talk about the pitch quantize pretty much, and then the other ones, but mainly the pitch quantize.